Welcome to the Subjective Professor podcast, where we reject coercion and hypocrisy. This is episode 214, and we're going to talk about Elon Musk's neutrality, uh, whether it's real or if it's fake. Now, a lot of people have already posted, so this is probably nothing new for you with this regard, with this topic. Anyway, but before I begin, I just want to say that I'm trying to juggle my schedule around to try to find the most optimal time to do a podcast now that the days are getting shorter. I think I have to move my workout schedule earlier. I used to try to do it after recording an episode, but it was just getting too dark too soon. And there are no street lights where I am, so I'm going to flip-flop it, and so the episodes are going to come a little bit later, but I'll be on that, runner's high kind of thing a little bit. Anyway, so I'll feel a little bit better. Okay, so anyway, when Musk said that he would buy X, at the time it was called Twitter, I wonder if it was because of the Babylon Bee. So the Babylon Bee was making all of these jokes, but they were getting canceled, and it got the attention of Elon Musk, and he did a podcast episode with them. And up until that point, I thought that, just like a lot of other people, that Elon Musk was more like kind of a robot, a machine because of just how much work he was cranking out. But by doing the episode, I could see that he really appreciated humor. And people were going back and forth like, oh, there's no way he would buy this. It's overpriced. He'll lose a lot of money. And if he uses Tesla stock to buy it, then he'll take a hit. The Tesla stock owners will be upset, et cetera, et cetera. And a little bit of that did happen, but the only explanation I can think of after the fact is that it didn't make economic sense if he kept it the same. But after he bought it, he gutted it. I mean, he fired 90% of the workers. He, got rid of a lot of, certain kinds of advertising. And so even to charge people to have certain kinds of premium memberships, which, even I am purchasing myself. So after he did that, people were saying, "Oh no, it's the end, it's the end," and people vowed that they would, uh, leave the platform. But they came back because this is where a lot of things are happening. This is that I don't think there's anything that can rival the reach or just even the popularity that X has. I don't really like the algorithm and the fact that you have to be sort of ridiculous in order to get a lot of interactions, but it is what it is, right? You get to see a lot of things that otherwise you would not. And so back in 2022, April 27th, Musk tweeted, "For Twitter to deserve public trust, it must be politically neutral," which effectively means upsetting the far right and the far left equally. And so people found that tweet, and then would caption something like, "This is how it started, this is how it's going." And I'll just read a couple of the tweets that people had posted in response to that from the last couple of weeks, right? So October 5th of this year, that's just a couple of days ago, Elon Musk tweeted that he was headed to Pennsylvania to speak at the Trump rally in Butler, where he was had been shot. And he posted, "Sign our petition to support the Constitution. Also earn $47 for every person you refer to sign the petition if they're in a swing state." What? Goal is to get 1 million voters in swing states to support for free speech and right to bear arms. Wait, what? I'm in a swing state. I should get my kids to register and make a buck 50. Anyway, and then here's some negative things. Musk has effing turned this platform into an S-hole, using it as a way to inject his political beliefs into the user base. What happened to X being politically neutral? Another one reads, "Musk has finally dropped the mask and pretenses of being politically neutral." Another one says David Hogg 111 humiliates Elon Musk, exposes him for hypocrisy, bashes him for buying Twitter to make it neutral, all to embarrass himself supporting Donald Trump in his posts. Elon Musk cannot be trusted, etc. And I'm all about the hypocrisy. So is this all hypocritical? Well, what I do observe is that the left, the far left, is really upset. And I think that the left is upset that they're upset, which makes them even more upset. But that doesn't mean that X is no longer neutral, right? Because the far left is accustomed to censoring and canceling anything and everything they want, even if it's on a whim, even if it's something insignificant, but they don't like it. And so they will move and press and pressure to have someone cancel. They do the doxing as well, which is they track people down and try to ruin their lives. I remember it didn't matter how old the people were. I remember when there was that Catholic school, I believe, where there was a guy who was wearing a MAGA hat, and this Native American, well, a guy who pretends to be Native American just came up to him, and he didn't know what to do, so he just kept smiling at him. And so people were like, "Oh, this is so racist," and they tried to track him down, and they thought they found him, and they raided a wedding that wasn't associated with him, and so it was pretty nuts. So the left is pretty much accustomed to censoring and getting anything they wanted. And maybe now they're upset because very few people are being canceled, and perhaps even people on the left are being canceled. And I wonder about that, like what really is behind some of the canceling that is going on, still going on now. I wonder if sometimes it's this little uh, piece of code left over from the purge, and they're still working on it. Who knows, really? I imagine that there are millions of lines of code. And so to get all of it out, from the previous Twitter regime, I think but eventually it'll happen, right? Or maybe there is something wrong with the tweet. That's why they had to get canceled. Who knows? I don't know. But it's so bad right now for the far left that not enough people are being canceled. All this information is getting out there. And so people are no longer believing, the propaganda from the official sources, that even Hillary Clinton is upset, right? And so she says, we have to be able to lock down all these social media sites because otherwise they'll lose control of the narrative. And that's what they need. They need everyone to believe their stories, their subjectivity, their truth, their subjective truth. And it's very hard to pull off if you have people who are posting counter information from different subjective points of view, obviously information that doesn't agree with the quote unquote official narrative. And we all know that these days news reporters are not reporters. They're just actors reading a script, right? And they're getting paid to basically spread the government subjectivity, which is basically propaganda for most of us. Now, on that note, uh, what's upsetting to a lot of other people is great for me. I get probably more of my news information from X than anywhere else. I used to get it through Facebook, but they changed their format. And so now I see a lot of these silly things. People I don't even follow. I get their stuff, but the people that I do follow, I never see their stuff anymore. And so it's kind of frustrating. So X, I started using X about a year or so ago, and now I see a lot of bits of news. In fact, I see updates to news stories by the minute. And what happened? Like for example, the Trump attempted assassination in Butler. I heard it first on Twitter. I read about it first there. I saw stories about it on X. I saw updates and more information and possible theories of what all went down being updated every minute, every 30 seconds on X. Whereas if you go to the mass media, corporate media, they are still saying they were still saying that Donald Trump stumbled. Maybe there was the popping noise, that's totally clueless, which is what they wanted to uh, happen, right? In other words, this is the way they used to do it. They used to slow roll all the information. And then ultimately, when they do say something, it's a story that has very little basis in reality. So, what upsets it, what destroys that attempt to control the narrative, to control the temperature in the room, is X. And so, even more so, and it's not just the leaders on the far left that are upset. Their mood is transmitted to all of their underlings, all their followings, all their lemmings that follow them. And so they're upset too. So the problem of the accusation that that X is no longer neutral is a conflation of the company X and Musk himself, right? It's as if Musk is supposed to be now X-Man, right? He is himself the embodiment of X, and that just simply doesn't work. And I think there is another person who's the CEO of X anyway, but maybe Musk still owns a majority share of the company. But it's a mistake to say that the company is Musk himself. So there is a separation, but maybe not always in the corporate world. Maybe people like, say, for example, Disney, the CEO of Disney, is very woke and so therefore makes the company woke as well. And I think that that's what most people are accustomed to seeing, that the CEO represents the politics of the company itself. And so now that Musk is openly pro-Trump, even trying to raise money or, make monetary contributions to the campaign, trying to incentivize people to get more people to register to vote. I mean, all of these things, people are saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's not neutral. That's him supporting Trump. And so that's where the confusion comes in. He's not supposed to do that. He is supposed to be neutral, not say anything, not do anything, not tell anyone who he's voting for. And that's how the company is as well. And it didn't matter that the previous CEO or two CEOs ago, the original guy, I'm blanking on his name, he was openly liberal. Uh, and people didn't mind that, and maybe perhaps pretended that it had no effect on the company itself. But now that Musk is backing the wrong person, the wrong candidate, now his neutrality is called into question. But it doesn't matter, right? Because the individual is different from the company. The company is, as far as I know, pretty neutral. You can see posts from the far left and the far right. But even to see, one far right post is just too much for the far left. But in any case, this has nothing to do with Musk himself. He is free to vote for and support anyone he wants. This is kind of like the church. The church itself is neutral, right? Because it's not about politics. It's about trying to preach or teach, the content which it believes is important. Now, obviously, if you break it down, the church is not neutral because there's a theological bias, right? There's a generational bias. There's what school of thought bias when it comes to theology, theological teaching and instruction. So, but when it comes to the worldly political realm, it's not supposed to take a position. It's not supposed to help a certain party in any way. And the individual members of the church, they can vote any way they want. So the church itself cannot, through the name of the church, fund or make contributions to a political campaign, but the members can, right? The members are free to do whatever it is they want. And this is like in the military too. The military can't say, oh, we support only, Democrats. No, I mean, they have to be neutral when it comes to obeying the orders from the executive branch. However, each of the individual soldiers, yeah, they can vote in the way that they want. And I believe that there are restrictions on speaking publicly in terms of making endorsements for certain political candidates if you are still serving, right? Like once you are out, we wrote, was it DD 214 or something like that, right? Once you are out, then you can speak publicly. But I think there is a restriction if you're still active duty. So an individual support for a side means not neutral. I think it's a confusion also of what is neutral, particularly this group of people who are so upset, right? And it seems like when they say the word neutral, what they really mean is the right information, right? And so the left is saying that although they can still post, they're not being deplatformed and mass, they're not having posts deleted. It's not neutral because the other side can post too, so what's all this other stuff, right? I mean, it's stuff from the right and they're not allowed to post that, right? Because that's not neutral, aka that's not the right position, the right information. And this attitude of all or nothing we've seen before, right? Where neutral means their side, right? Neutral means everything goes their way, right? This all or nothing, right? And so to even have a little bit of pushback is absolutely intolerable. People get really upset. I mean, talk about hypersensitive. Well, I've discussed this before, right? This issue has come up in other episodes. In episode 187, when I talked about the Democrat to registered Democrat, registered Republican ratio in among professors in the university, 70 to 1, or episode 162, where people keep talking about democracy, but the democracy that they're talking about, there's only one party, right? And so you can see it now, like, the Democrats in America are trying to basically make it impossible for anyone else ever to win a presidential election because there's only one party. And you go to these more dictatorial, AKA democratic countries, there is only one party. And if you try to start another party, yeah, you disappear pretty quickly, right? So all or nothing, right? Everything has to be Democrat. That's how you know it's democracy. Yeah, sure. And in that episode 162, I talk about how in Marxism, right, the Communist Manifesto, yeah, there's only one party. So when they talk about democracy, yeah, they're not lying. That's the democracy that they want. Now on X, anything that they would disagree with, it's misinformation. This is not unusual to me because you also see this in the university, right? Not only because of the whole 70 to 1 ratio in the College of Liberal Arts, but professors themselves, right? So I've listened to some of the things that my colleagues will say, and some of them are quite proud to say that on the first day of class, they say that they are neutral, right? And that they tell their students, hey, I'm neutral. You're never going to know what I actually believe because I'm going to be neutral. And so, it tricks a lot of the students into thinking that, yeah, the professor's going to be neutral. No, they're not neutral, right? I mean, come on, this is the Subjective Professor podcast, right? People who claim that they are neutral are probably the worst. They're the worst, right? Because their bias comes up in the syllabus. Their bias comes up in which readings they assign. Their bias comes up with the discussion, how the discussion is led. Their bias appears from the bully pulpit, right? A professor has basically final say, first say, and final say when it comes to classroom discussions. That's the way it's set up. And that's the way it should be, right? Because the professor is supposed to be the smartest dude in the room, the most knowledgeable person in the room, the person who's going to try to guide and teach other people, college students, how to think. We see this claim to neutrality also in theology. When I was younger and I was studying to be a preacher, the seminary that I taught assumed a neutral perspective. At least that's the way I saw it. And I was always confused why it just didn't fit when I tried to take this North American subjectivity and apply it and practice it in a Korean ethnic church, right? Like, why was I having all of these problems? Because it wasn't a neutral perspective. And so I had to then come up with my own perspective, how I was going to minister to these people living in America while their family life, everything that they experience at home is not North American, right? And so you have to kind of adapt and make adjustments because, and then that's when you realize that the theology that you learn at a seminary, which is only supposed to tell you the truth, is in fact, it does in fact have a subjectivity. And so, in conclusion, we are always subjective. We can only, and I talked about this on Sunday, but we can, was it last Sunday? We can only see things from our subjective point of view. And it'll seem very true and real enough for us because that's our subjectivity. But other people will look at the same phenomena, the same objects, the same theories, and they will see different things because their subjectivity is different. So, uh, yeah, neutrality means that everyone gets to say what they want to say, unless, of course, you're threatening people's lives or your behavior is dangerous, I guess. Then that company X is going to censor you, right? Which they can because it's a private company, right? But it's really great to be able to see more than one side. Again, not just the far left stuff, but also far right stuff. And then everyone can post in between. And then so everyone, as they read through the stuff, they can make their choice as to what to believe, what to follow, what to subscribe to, right? You leave it up to them to figure it out. But of course, this is what is so upsetting to people who are accustomed to living in a cave where everyone shares the same ideas, and get super excited when someone said the same idea for the 100th time. That's, I guess, what floats their boat. But for the rest of us who likes to see a whole variety of opinions and thoughts on various issues, it's nice to see more than one perspective again. And I hope that this continues no matter who is elected in November. But that's it for today. I will talk to you next time.